Recently, in an interview with People magazine, 94-year-old Robert Duvall surprised many when he revealed the Hollywood stars he could not work with simply because of their shocking personal hygiene habits. Can you imagine a famous star wearing the same outfit for weeks, making the air on set so suffocating that no one could breathe? Or someone whose heavy drinking and smoking habits caused the director to lose face and miss out on a major role? And another person who neglected hygiene so badly that their skin developed severe infections, forcing them to secretly leave the country for treatment while hiding it from the media. What's remarkable is that these stars weren't unknown names. They were Hollywood legends. So, who exactly were these people? Watch until the end of the video to find out the final name. Someone who will absolutely shock you once you realize who they are. Along with a hygiene habit more extreme than anything you can imagine. 1. Jack Nicholson. The Hollywood legend with a messy lifestyle and a heavy cloud of smoke. Jack Nicholson is widely known as one of Hollywood's most talented and captivating stars, with unforgettable performances that etched his name into cinema history. However, few know that behind the glamour of a legend, he had some very unusual personal habits, especially when it came to self-care. Robert Duvall, Nicholson's longtime colleague, witnessed his messy lifestyle firsthand during the early years of their careers. Duvall shared that throughout the filming of The Shining in 1976, Nicholson hardly cared about bathing or maintaining his personal hygiene, creating an atmosphere on set that felt suffocating. Every time Nicholson showed up on set, the air instantly filled with the smell of cigarettes, alcohol, and sweat. I admired his talent deeply, but the heavy scent coming from him was genuinely difficult to endure, Duvall recalled. Indeed, Nicholson's body odor wasn't easy for anyone to tolerate, especially when he constantly wore old, wrinkled, and unwashed clothes. This not only affected his coworkers, but also caused problems for stylists and makeup artists. Once before an important scene, Nicholson's stylist had to ask him to shower before stepping onto the set. His body odor was so strong that it interfered with the character's styling. We couldn't breathe in the makeup room. We had to keep the windows open nonstop just to dilute the smell, a makeup artist remembered. However, despite the criticism, Nicholson appeared indifferent. In a 1978 interview with Rolling Stone, he openly stated, "I live for the art, and that's all I care about. Personal hygiene. That's a luxury not worth thinking about." Nicholson's disregard for grooming extended into his turbulent personal life as well. His dramatic relationships, especially with Angelica Houston, often stirred up the press. In her 2015 memoir, Houston revealed that during their time living together, she constantly had to remind Nicholson to bathe. He never washed properly. "I kept reminding him, but in the end, I was the one who had to endure it," she wrote. Jack Nicholson's story paints a completely different image from the polished star the public imagines. Though he remains a Hollywood icon, his messy lifestyle and indifference toward hygiene made him a controversial figure among colleagues. Yet perhaps that's not surprising after all. Even the brightest stars have their flaws, hidden corners, and secrets they never want exposed. And the messy hygiene habits didn't stop with Nicholson. Chapter 2. Al Pacino, the bohemian artist who ignored cleanliness to focus on his craft. It was genuinely hard to breathe when standing near him. The smell felt like a dark cloud surrounding everything, and I had to keep my distance. That was Robert Duvall's blunt description of working with Al Pacino during The Godfather 1972. If you thought all Hollywood stars were polished, fragrant, and flawless, this story will change your mind instantly. Al Pacino, a monumental actor known for his powerful stare and unforgettable performances, often made crew members step back simply because of the intense body smell surrounding him. In the 1970s, while living in a cramped apartment in New York, Pacino was completely absorbed in his craft, but neglected himself to an unbelievable degree. Unchanged clothes, dried sweat on his skin, greasy hair, and a mix of cigarette smoke and stale coffee deeply embedded into his clothing. Duvall recalled that Pacino frequently arrived on set wearing shirts stained yellow with sweat, repeating them for many days in a row. During the filming of Dog Day Afternoon 1972, Pacino showed up in an outfit heavy with odor, sweating profusely without even wiping himself off, yet continued acting as if nothing was wrong. Duvall admitted that despite having worked with countless big names, even he found it hard to stand near Pacino for too long. Crew members added that whenever Pacino entered a room, the atmosphere thickened instantly with the smell of body odor, cigarettes, and alcohol. Some actors had to keep a full meter of distance from him just to continue their scenes comfortably. What's surprising is that Pacino didn't seem to care at all. In a 1973 Esquire interview, he stated, "I live for the craft, and that's all that matters, personal hygiene. It's not important." In Hollywood, where appearance and tidiness are highly valued, Pacino became an unusual case. His messiness and signature scent, as some jokingly called it, made colleagues hesitant to work closely with him. But it also shaped a unique image. An artist fully devoted to his roles, unconcerned with social expectations. And when discussing Al Pacino, the brilliant actor yet notorious for his neglected hygiene, we cannot forget that Hollywood, behind all its glamour, hides plenty of strange personal habits, pushed boundaries, and truths that are both shocking and irresistibly intriguing. And Pacino wasn't the only one. Number 3, Gene Hackman. The smell of cigarettes and old clothes is a man's signature. Gene Hackman, another Hollywood legend, was also someone who made entire film sets open every window just to deal with the overpowering smell surrounding him. During the filming of The French Connection, 1971, Hackman regularly appeared in wrinkled clothes, uncombed hair, and without showering for days, his body constantly radiating the thick scent of cigarettes. It's hard to believe that behind the image of one of Hollywood's greatest actors lay hygiene habits that pushed everyone's limits. Though he captivated audiences with raw, powerful performances, Hackman's colleagues often found him difficult to work with because of his extremely laid-back and careless personal habits. Hackman didn't change his clothes for 3 days straight. The smell of cigarettes, sweat, and unwashed skin made the room so suffocating that we had to keep the windows open the entire time. One crew member recalled, "Every time you walked in, the smell hit you in the face. No one could stand it. Not the actors, not the crew." Duvall, who was meticulous about his own hygiene, admitted he often had to grit his teeth to endure working near Hackman. That smell clung to you as if it never wanted to leave. No matter how much perfume we sprayed the cigarette, and sweat odor always overpowered it, Duvall said. The situation became so troublesome that Duvall once asked Hackman to shower before coming to set. Hackman simply laughed and ignored it. Hackman's strained relationships with his coworkers stemmed not only from his hygiene issues, but also from his distant and aloof attitude. Duvall remembered filming days in New York when Hackman never interacted with the rest of the cast, choosing instead to isolate himself. He stayed in his own world, leaving for his room after every scene without even changing clothes. According to Duvall, you could smell him before he even stepped into the hallway. A stylist who worked with Hackman later revealed in a 1975 Hollywood Reporter interview that they constantly sprayed perfume to mask the odor coming from his old clothing. "We couldn't stand it. We kept the windows open because the room became unbearably stuffy," the stylist said. Rumors even circulated that Hackman developed rashes, itching, and skin irritation due to rarely bathing. A co-star from The French Connection recalled him showing up with greasy hair and blemishes all over his face, making the makeup team's job far more difficult despite his undeniable talent. Hackman, however, dismissed hygiene as unimportant. "I don't have time to take care of myself," he once said. "My work is what matters. Everything else isn't important." Perhaps this disregard for appearance made him stand out in a Hollywood obsessed with perfection. And the next person on the list had the exact same reputation. Number 4, Peter O'Toole. His smell of alcohol and sweat often made film sets unbearable. O'Toole was a genius, but he paid the price for being completely consumed by his craft. Every time he arrived on set, his clothes reeked of alcohol, his hair was greasy, and his entire body carried a heavy smell of sweat. No one could stand close to him for long without feeling suffocated. Robert Duvall, who worked with O'Toole on Lawrence of Arabia, 1962, openly admitted this. O'Toole was a cinematic legend known for his remarkable acting ability, but behind the scenes, his lack of personal hygiene made life difficult for the entire crew. During filming in Egypt's blistering desert heat, O'Toole went weeks without bathing, and his overpowering odor became a nightmare for everyone who had to work near him. Though he could transform into any role with extraordinary passion, his self-neglect off camera became a lasting memory for his colleagues. His scent, an intense mixture of sweat, alcohol, and generally unclean body odor, became infamous. Stylists and makeup artists recalled using giant bottles of cologne to spray him down during filming, but even that couldn't fully cover the smell. His odor clung to him, as if it were part of his identity. "When he stood close, we could barely breathe," one crew member said. "Sometimes I had to stand a whole meter away just to avoid the smell." His habits extended beyond the set as well. Off camera, O'Toole lived in cluttered, makeshift apartments filled with books, old clothes, and leftover food. He often went a week without changing outfits, and bathing was something he simply didn't bother with. One colleague remembered him going 3 days straight without showering, making the air around him even harder to tolerate. After filming a scene, he would head straight back to his room without changing. His body already gave off a strong odor, and the entire crew had to endure it, Duvall said. This lifestyle didn't just make work uncomfortable, it also affected his health. In a 1999 Guardian interview, O'Toole admitted he didn't care about hygiene, focusing only on his craft. "I live for the work and nothing else matters. Bathing is not a priority for me," he confessed. Unfortunately, this led to skin inflammation, rashes, and other issues from neglecting his body. Despite being a major screen icon, O'Toole never attempted to maintain the polished public image typical of Hollywood stars. He lived entirely on his own terms, unconcerned with cleanliness or appearances. His body odor made working with him very uncomfortable, another colleague said. He was so absorbed in his work that he forgot everything else around him, including himself. O'Toole wasn't the only Hollywood talent whose brilliance overshadowed chaotic personal habits. The next star was just the same. Number 5, Brigitte Bardot, the beauty goddess known for her natural body scent and her habit of not bathing. Robert Duvall never forgot the days he worked with Bardot in the 1960s, especially her shocking hygiene habits, something most people would never dare to mention publicly. Despite being a global beauty icon, Bardot's real-life habits contrasted sharply with her glamorous public image. She openly admitted in interviews, "I don't like bathing. It is a form of freedom." One of the most shocking stories about Bardot came during the filming of *In God Created Woman* in 1956. Although she portrayed a sensual young woman on screen, her body odor made life extremely difficult for those working around her. Duvall recalled that she went several days without bathing during filming, even in the hot and humid conditions of southern France. Her body emitted an unpleasant smell. Her hair was greasy, sweat covered her skin, and the smoke from the Gauloise cigarettes she chain-smoked created a suffocating atmosphere around her. During one shoot in Saint-Tropez, where the weather was stifling, Bardot wore the same clothes for 3 days straight. The sweat and odor clung so strongly to her clothing that the entire crew had to endure it. Her refusal to bathe not only affected her co-workers, but created problems for her own health as well. She suffered from inflamed hair follicles and scalp rashes due to her lifestyle. Still, Bardot was proud of her habits. In a 1963 interview with Paris Match, she declared, "My natural body scent is a symbol of freedom. I don't need to please anyone with social standards." Yet these habits made Brigitte Bardot an extremely difficult star to work with, especially in a demanding film environment where cleanliness and neatness were expected. Duvall revealed that he had been forced to tolerate Bardot's odor countless times throughout filming. More than once, her stylist had to rush over and spray perfume all over her body in an attempt to hide the intense smell before close-up shots. Even with that effort, the lingering mix of cigarettes, sweat, and oily hair couldn't be completely concealed. One crew member told The Hollywood Reporter that they often had to open windows during close-up scenes because her body odor was so overwhelming. Stories about Bardot's chaotic habits went far beyond hygiene. Her personal scandals only amplified public fascination. Her loud, messy love affairs and romantic entanglements with various stars constantly filled tabloids. In 1964, she caused a major scene at a Paris party when she openly flirted with several Hollywood actors, sending the French press into a frenzy. Her rebellious, wild private life made her a symbol of absolute freedom, yet also made many people in the film industry uncomfortable working alongside her. These very scandals and unusual habits eventually made it difficult for major productions to keep her. Directors, stylists, and co-stars all struggled to work with someone whose hygiene habits clashed so heavily with professional standards. Although she was undeniably beautiful and talented, Bardot earned a troubling reputation behind the scenes. After Bardot, the next star on the list comes with hygiene stories even more surprising than hers. Number 6. Orson Welles, the tireless director whose neglect of hygiene left food odors clinging to his body. Orson Welles, the cinematic genius behind masterpieces like Citizen Kane and Touch of Evil, lived a lifestyle most people would never imagine. Robert Duvall, recalling his time working with Welles, admitted that the director's personal hygiene habits caused the entire crew to groan in disgust. Despite his brilliance, Wells paid little attention to his body, making the work environment oppressive and hard to endure. Duvall described a 1962 shoot for the trial in France, where Wells arrived on set wearing the same clothing for days. The strong stench of old food, alcohol, and cigarette smoke clung to him. To make matters worse, he would sit and eat pizza during breaks, leaving bits of food, grease stains, and cigarette ashes scattered across his office. The smell coming from him was so intense that standing near him was almost unbearable. The filming process was challenging not only because of creative tensions, but also because of Wells's odor and overall lack of self-care. Although he was one of the greatest directors in film history, Wells paid no attention to personal hygiene. He often worked through the night, eating at his desk, and then falling asleep in an armchair without changing his clothes for days. Doctors warned him about the risks of skin infections due to not bathing, but Wells brushed it off, saying, "It's fine. I have work to do." Another story that spread among crew members involved his habit of eating and then immediately falling asleep at his work table, leaving behind leftovers, spilled drinks, and alcohol stains. Despite being a cinematic master, he completely ignored cleanliness, turning the workplace into a nightmare for anyone around him. A crew member told The Hollywood Reporter in 1965 that they couldn't stay in the same space with him for long because the odor even stuck to his chair and desk. On top of his poor hygiene, Wells's personal life was full of turmoil. From his failed marriage to Rita Hayworth to public feuds with colleagues, his chaotic relationships were constant topics of discussion. These personal conflicts created stress that affected his career and made long-term collaborations incredibly difficult. Wells's undisciplined lifestyle and disregard for hygiene became inseparable parts of his legend. Despite his undeniable talent, his habits made him nearly impossible to work with in a perfection-driven industry. Number 7. Ava Gardner, the seductive goddess whose living space resembled a battleground. Ava Gardner, one of Hollywood's most stunning icons of the 1950s, shocked many with her unusual lifestyle and questionable hygiene habits. When Robert Duvall remembered working with her, one thing he could never forget was the suffocating odor that surrounded her, something few dared to mention openly. During the filming of The Barefoot Contessa in 1954, Gardner often went days without bathing, allowing her body to develop a strong smell. According to Duvall, she sometimes drank all day, and when intoxicated, she wouldn't bathe or remove her makeup. Her hair would become greasy, and old cosmetics would cake on her skin. The studio air grew heavy with the scent of alcohol, and sweat absorbed into her. Her housekeeper once stated that opening Gardner's door felt like stepping into a room filled with the overpowering smell of liquor and stale makeup. During one shoot in Los Angeles in 1957, Gardner went 3 full days without showering, causing her pores to clog and her skin to grow inflamed from unremoved makeup. Her body odor filled the room so intensely that crew members had to open windows just to breathe. Shockingly, Gardner seemed unbothered by any of it. When asked about her health, she would simply laugh and say, "That's the price of freedom." But that freedom came with consequences. Her strong odor and lack of grooming created difficulties in her professional relationships. Duvall recalled that during romantic scenes, her scent made the air so heavy that he could barely tolerate it. Stylists had to ask her to shower before filming because the strong smell was affecting her character's image. The entire crew struggled with the situation, Duvall remembered. Beyond the hygiene issues, Gardner's private life was equally dramatic. Her turbulent relationship with Frank Sinatra drew constant media attention, filled with public arguments and emotional chaos. The press continually covered their emotional struggles, turning Gardner into a symbol of independence while also portraying her as someone who was hard to approach. Ava Gardner's life was marked by loud controversies and chaotic habits, making her nearly impossible to work with for long periods. Her romantic relationships and constant personal conflicts made it difficult for others to maintain a professional partnership with her, even though her talent was never in doubt. Because of this, despite being a beauty icon and a famous movie star, Gardner's lifestyle and poor hygiene made her a challenging figure behind the scenes in Hollywood. Her stories are not only a classic example of a carefree, rebellious attitude toward hygiene, but also a reminder of how unpredictable the lives of the next stars on this list could be. Number 8. Robert Mitchum, the man who smoked his way into the image of coolness. Known for his rebellious persona, Mitchum showed little concern for cleanliness and often forced entire film crews to deal with his overwhelming and unavoidable body odor. While filming The Night of the Hunter in 1955, one of Robert Duvall's most unforgettable memories was the intense smell of cigarettes and alcohol that constantly surrounded Mitchum. Duvall recalled that Mitchum sometimes arrived on set wearing the same clothes for days, his body odor so powerful that crew members kept windows open at all times. People could smell him coming long before they ever saw him, and this affected not just the environment on set, but also the professionalism of those working with him. Mitchum didn't stop at wearing unwashed clothing for days. During demanding filming periods, he also avoided bathing. In interviews, Duvall revealed that Mitchum ignored basic hygiene altogether, carrying the constant scent of cigarettes and sweat. While other actors cleaned up and changed clothes after filming, Mitchum brushed it off, allowing the smell of alcohol, smoke, and sweat to become his unmistakable trademark. In one particularly shocking incident, the crew's stylist asked him to shower because his odor was interfering with a scene. But instead of agreeing, Mitchum simply laughed and ignored the request. The stylist ended up spraying perfume on him, trying unsuccessfully to cover the smell. Despite his undeniable acting skills, Mitchum's disregard for personal hygiene caused major issues for his colleagues and often led to public conflict within the industry. His personal life was equally turbulent. From noisy affairs to heated arguments with other actors and producers, Mitchum openly embraced a wild lifestyle, even if it meant showing an extremely unrestrained way of living. In a 1963 Esquire interview, he even said, "I live my way and I don't care about social standards." This attitude fueled ongoing clashes on set, and rumors about his loud relationships and public fights only added to his complicated reputation. These controversies were not just part of his bad boy image. They made long-term working relationships nearly impossible. Number 9. Dennis Hopper. One outfit for 4 days and no shower. The final figure on this list is Dennis Hopper. Although known for his remarkable talent and influential career, Hopper was infamous for his undisciplined lifestyle, which often made him unbearable to work with, especially during his worst periods of addiction. Robert Duvall, who worked with Hopper during that time, recalled their experiences with shock. Not because Hopper lacked talent, but because of his extremely poor hygiene. During the filming of Easy Rider in 1969, Hopper was heavily addicted, smoking constantly and drinking all day. What shocked people even more, however, was his nearly complete lack of personal care. Duvall remembered that Hopper wore the same outfit for 4 or 5 days without ever changing. His clothes and body carried the smell of cigarettes and alcohol, making the air around him difficult to breathe. The crew had to open windows and take any measure possible to deal with the overpowering mix of sweat, smoke, and alcohol. This wasn't just an inconvenience. It became a serious obstacle for everyone working with him. Even when he suffered from skin irritation and rashes, Hopper didn't seem to care. He defended his lack of hygiene by saying, "I live for the art." Crew members said he went many days without changing clothes, forcing them to ask him repeatedly to shower before filming. One stylist from his team recalled, "We had to spray perfume on him before shooting because we simply couldn't stand the smell of alcohol and cigarettes." Hygiene wasn't the only issue that made Hopper difficult. His personal life was filled with chaos, from addiction and arguments with directors to volatile relationships. One of his most talked about relationships was with Michelle Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas. Though brief, it attracted massive media attention and ended in controversy. These unstable relationships made long-term collaborations nearly impossible. During the 1970s, while filming the last movie, Hopper continued to neglect responsibilities and engaged in public disputes with directors. Crew members claimed his addictions and lack of accountability made it impossible for him to perform properly. Although his acting ability was never questioned, his reckless behavior and inability to manage his life turned him into a difficult and unpredictable star, constantly causing tension for those around him. His poor hygiene and chaotic lifestyle made him a negative example within Hollywood. These stories, even if they weren't major headlines, remained unforgettable to those who worked with him. From his lack of self-care to his destructive habits, Hopper created an image completely opposite of what people expect from a movie star. Now that you've learned the shocking truths about the hygiene habits of several Hollywood legends, details few people dare to discuss, you might find yourself rethinking the glamorous world we admire. If these revelations surprised you, Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more fast-paced, fascinating, and gripping stories. Leave a comment below to share your thoughts on these stars and tell us which behind-the-scenes secrets you'd like to uncover next. See you in the next video.